I'm gonna be documenting my POTS journey or doing vlogs on how it's been going. People that don't know, POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Basically, my heart rate when I'm standing, it will jump extremely high. It can go up to like 160 with minimal effort. It'd be like someone running a marathon or something like that. From my understanding, people with POTS or dysautonomia have an intolerance to standing up. So while I'm sitting, my heart rate is generally around like 90 BPM, but when I lay down, especially towards like night or in the morning, it can be around 60 to 70. I've had it at times be as low as 40 BPM, and I've had other times where I'm laying down and it's at 160. So there's no real reasoning, I guess, for that. It can happen at any time. I've also had a lot of lightheadedness, dizziness, almost like vertigo. I can pass out at times. It's very limiting on what I can and can't do. I'm very limited on driving currently. I have been going and seeing tons of different doctors, and I did stumble across a good holistic or a functional medicine doctor who has been helping me treat this much more efficiently, but there's still no cure at this time. So anybody that's out there struggling with chronic illness, just know that you're not alone. Even before I was diagnosed with this, I'd been on and off throughout high school. I'd pass out and then I would get better within about a week or two, and then in a year's time it would come back. Sometimes different different symptoms. I've had it where my eyesight's been completely gone, almost like I'm blind. Recently I've had more challenging symptoms, and it's been going on for about a year now, and it doesn't seem to be going away this time. I will say that there's a lot of people out there that will try and take advantage of you. That can be doctors, holistic doctors, supplement stores, and a lot of other people. Some people will straight up lie to your face. There's a lot of other people who say that they care and they don't actually care about you. You need to be your best advocate, and you need to actually do some research on what is going on with you. I started having these symptoms really onset about a year ago. It took several months to get a tilt table test done, and then that was finally like an actual diagnosis for me for this. But I'd been going to my family doctor, and he was prescribing me antidepressants. He was prescribing me vertigo medicine, and a lot of this stuff I had asked for myself because I wasn't certain what was happening. But you know, that wasn't the answer to this, and he finally set me up with a cardiologist. I've had a heart rate monitor that I wore for about a week, and in the beginning, he told me this is absolutely not POTS, but then after I had a tilt table test done, he told me that it is absolutely POTS. So there's a lot of conflict there as well. So there's a lot of different things that could onset this. The HPV vaccine, which is still advertised, and it also can cause cancer. I've just recently seen this advertised on TV, which is kind of crazy to me. My nephew, he also received one of those, and I mean, he's been having different issues, but I don't know for certain which thing onset this for me, but those are some things that you can look into if you have been vaccinated with that. Mono, or the Epstein-Barr virus, can onset this. COVID itself, so if you got sick with COVID or if you received the vaccine, the booster shots and all of that, they have been, especially in the area that I'm in, they've been seeing a huge rise in the amount of people that are getting this. And, you know, I actually was seen by supposedly one of the better doctors in this area. He's very difficult to get in contact with. It took me about 8 months to get in to see him. And he really didn't have anything to offer me when I got there. These doctors are pretty much playing Russian roulette with drugs. They've tried to prescribe me over 15 different drugs without reviewing my results, so I've had blood work and all sorts of tests done. And, you know, they wanted me to do even more testing without giving me reasoning. You know, it's like if you were to break your arm, there's a process to that. So, you know, at first you would want to treat the symptoms, so, you know, they're in extreme amounts of pain, and then you would want to, you know, do surgery or set it, however that would work. And then, you know, the antibiotics to prevent infection, or, you know, it's kind of like a step-by-step process. So for something like this, they're not really doing that. They're just throwing different drugs. They don't really seem to care if it's having negative effects on you. My nephew, he's also been diagnosed with POTS, a different nephew that I have, and they were trying to give him steroids, and I mean, he's been going through all the same difficulties that I have. I don't think that his symptoms have onset as severe as mine have yet, but I do think that he's negatively affected. And I mean, at such a young age, it's, you know, it's devastating to a lot of people. They've given me beta blockers. They've given me, so they've suggested that I try Adderall, Xanax, among many other medications. The issue is that they start you on something and then it's pretty much hands off. You know, you can try and message them or call these doctors, but, you know, they don't really seem to be affected by that from my personal experience. You know, it's like it takes a long time to talk to them. They don't, I don't know, they just, it seems like there's so much incompetence, and it's very frustrating. Let me see. pretty much they have one way to treat your symptoms at this point, and that's just to drug you up either until you are feeling better, until you're not functioning, and you're not an issue for them. That's what I've personally been seeing. They don't offer any other treatments that I've personally seen after going through all their testing, which takes months to complete. For me, I had to go about 8 months without any real treatment plan or any idea what was really going on. Up until recently, I've just started getting a good routine down, and a lot of it is, it seems strange, but it is a holistic route. I do think that there is place for some of these medications, but that's something that you really need to look into, because like the beta blocker I was on, my heart rate was going extremely low. It was going down to like 40 BPM, and it was staying there almost the whole day, or 50 BPM. I mean, that is not good. And I got to a point where I couldn't get out of bed. I was not able to function, and then they wanted to add like Adderall or something like that to increase my heart rate. So, it's like a balance that they're trying to do. It's kind of crazy. On the other side of this, personally, I've been trying, like I said, I've been trying to go a holistic route. I was trying the magnesium glycinate and magnesium L-thionate. These can actually cause depression or onset your symptoms. It can basically feel like a hangover. And magnesium citrate is a laxative. Magnesium oxide is bad at absorbing. So this is something that you should take into account too. Even though I do see a lot of this as a holistic route, some things that you may take that are holistic, they could still negatively impact you. So it is a lot to research, and it's very difficult because you will be feeling sick or unable to do things at times, but you really got to try and do the best you can. And if you do have someone, like a partner or parents or whatnot, I mean, really try and dig into this. Nutrition is a huge part of this. From what I've been seeing, keto, carnivore, and Lion diet are very helpful. I did go to see a nutritionist in our area, and my family doctor recommended her. She was horrible. She was not able to help me, and she was pushing like 300 pounds. So I find that, it's like she's not following what she's telling people to do. If that's your whole job, you should be in pretty good shape if you're following what you're preaching, pretty much. But after an hour of sitting there listening to what she had to say, she told me that she wasn't going to charge me for my visit, and she said that she's actually not able to help anybody with POTS. So instead of saying that up front, she wasted a considerable amount of my time. I think a lot of this is good because you can, through all of this, you're going to see for yourself what I'm talking about. None of what I say is medical advice, or you should take it without consulting someone if that's what you would like to do. But this is from my personal experience, what I've been doing, and I'm gonna try and put out more content and try and help people. And if anybody knows more about this than I do, I would be grateful for you reaching out to me. Leave a comment, or you can reach out to me personally through like a direct message. Quitting smoking and drinking is huge. If you need to bridge that, personally, I'm still struggling with nicotine. You can use nicotine pouches or gum or the patches. Alcohol is a big one. That's gonna dehydrate you a lot, and you're already trying to catch up on that with this. I would recommend, if you're struggling, reach out and try and find an AA group around you, and actually, work the steps. It will help. If you're not doing the steps and you're not, doing things to advocate for yourself, it's going to be very hard to feel better. And I see that a lot on a lot of the Facebook groups. And every case is different, but I think a lot of people they don't necessarily know what to do. I mean, a lot of people I've seen are hopeless. And then I've seen on the other side of that, people do know, but they don't follow it. It's like putting your feet up or elevating your feet for 20 minutes twice a day. That alone was huge for me, but I get busier, I get caught up with certain things, trying to keep up with eating and trying to exercise, and I do try to get out once in a while, like going to the stores and stuff like that. But if I'm not keeping up with that, I know that I'm gonna feel like crap the next day. So it's something you really gotta try and focus on, and get a routine down, and then you will, from what I've been personally experiencing, you will start to improve slightly. But it's not like, you're not gonna go back to feeling how you used to, at least not yet. I've been told that people are able to, if they follow a good routine and they get all of this down, they can recover and they can go back to work and they can live a successful life. Another thing that I've personally found is that caffeine, especially coffee, can onset my symptoms. So I would stay away from Monster and Red Bull and, energy drinks. I would assume that they would exacerbate your symptoms even more than that. Tonic water is a good way to bridge that, I've found. Another thing that I've been using is LMNT. It's a electrolyte additive. I personally put about 2 of those packets in a 32-ounce water bottle. But I'm constantly drinking water. I try to drink around 4 of those. Once I get to that 4th one, I'll back off a little bit, because I add I add salt on my food and whatnot as well. I'm personally trying to get around like 8,000 to 10,000 milligrams of sodium a day, which seems like a lot, but there have been studies that show adding sodium does not have negative effects on you, especially if you're drinking a ton of water. And if you add lemon to that, that can also help with this. That way you don't get like kidney stones or stuff like that. And then that much water flushes all of that out too. The magnesium and potassium also help with the blood pressure. So when I'm getting all of that in and I'm consistent with it, my blood pressure does seem to improve, my heart rate seems to improve, and I feel better, you know. So also, if you go on LMNT's website, they have the recipes to make these, and they're much cheaper. I'm currently trying to get an affiliate link, so I don't know if I'm going to have that by the time I upload this, but I'm hoping I will. But if you buy through that affiliate link, you get like a free gift. Then you can also get them at like Target and Walmart. So if you want to just try them, that's a cheaper alternative. But I'll usually carry those in my backpack, and I'll carry an extra water bottle with me, just in case, like if I do pass out or something, it's right there, easily to get to. I have been reading that the raw unflavored version is better because it doesn't have the citric acid in it. Citric acid's derived from mold. It's made in I don't know, like a laboratory, or it's made, it's man-made, you know, it's not natural like having fruit, and that's like I said, so either the natural packets, if you can find them, or use their recipes on their website and just make your own. What I have been looking at as well, I've been trying to get just stainless steel bottles, because if you get the plastics or aluminum or different materials, it can break down. I just bought a Hydro Flask 32-ounce bottle, and I used that for one day, and then it started rusting out. This Liquid Death one, I've had this for months, and it's been working well. And then I got the stainless steel lid from Hydro Flask. So I mean, it's up to you. I mean, you can get a cheap one at Walmart. Just make sure that it's stainless steel. Another thing that I've been trying to keep with me or on my person is smelling salts. And I've been trying to, you know, tell people that I'm around if I do pass out, that that's there, and that would help me wake up quicker, you know, and get back to consciousness. And I have them taped like on my bathroom mirror. I have them in my kitchen and all over. So that's something that I haven't seen anyone talking about, but it's worth looking into. You know, and it can be kind of scary when you do pass out. A lot of people that I've talked with, they say that they think they're dying, or, you know, it's impending doom, really. Personally, I get like very clammy or sweaty, and, you know, I usually have like, I don't know, 30 seconds or a minute before I pass out. I can usually feel it onsetting, and I try to tell if someone's there or call someone, but I try to immediately lay down if I can. I try to elevate my feet, and it's very difficult to do that because you want to move, or you might think that, oh, I can go into this area that's safer, or it's more comfortable, or whatever else. You need to immediately lay down. Don't do that because you can get hurt. And I'll put on the end of this some photos, but I ended up passing out. I fell onto my face. I ended up getting a black eye. But I thought I had broken my neck, and I scraped up my leg while I did that. I was telling them, my leg hurts, and they're like, why would your leg hurt? But I did. I skinned my knee too, or my shin, and I don't know. It's pretty bizarre, and it's strange to people looking in on you, from the outside, if they haven't experienced this. But you just got to take care of yourself, and you need to not let that impact you, because I'd rather lay down in the middle of Walmart than I would pass out, and then you're still gonna make a scene. So it's like, don't listen to what other people say, or don't worry about that. Another thing that I haven't heard people talk about is, if you are disabled for a long duration of time, you could look into Medicaid or Medicare. Medicaid in my area is about $1,500 for your total income. So if that's from insurance or something like that. If you have partial, it's $2,500 approximately, and that's from my personal experience. It may be different. You'll have to look into it, but partial Medicaid is a joke from what I've seen. It's they didn't really have anything to help me. She was telling me, if you need birth control, if you want a COVID vaccine, which is kind of bizarre because that's something that onset this for a lot of people, or if you have testicular cancer or something, something like that. So it wasn't like it was gonna cover my doctor appointments or actually help with what I currently need. So if you are on this long term, you may need to look into something like COBRA or private insurance, which can be very expensive as well. So you need to try and prepare for that. Another thing that you can look at is applying for food stamps. This is something, again, I haven't heard really anybody talk about. For me, I'm not really making anything with that. I think it's about $20 a month. It's not a lot of money to help you out. They do have food drives as well. That's something that would be worth looking at. But just continuously trying to keep researching this and see what's out there, because I think a lot of people do genuinely want to help, but there's not a good area where everything's condensed, into a really comprehensive and easy to read guide, something that I have found that is a good tool though is ChatGPT. You can get a free account. It's limited on how many messages you can get a day, but it's a good amount. And that is tremendous in helping with this. You can put in your lab results, and you can understand what they're saying. You can research different medications. You can look up holistic ways to treat this, or different doctors, or really anything at this point. So I would highly recommend looking into that. Intravenous saline is it's a very expensive way to get hydrated, but I do think it has its place. If you're having a hard time getting caught up, and a lot of people are during the summer, I think that that's a good option, to get caught up, but then, get back to drinking like 4 of these a day. At the very least, drink 2. But I've seen where people are drinking up to like 5, so that's like a gallon, a little over a gallon of water every single day. And you can't just drink water straight up because you'll just pee it out. You need to have the electrolytes in there, that way it can absorb into your body, and you kind of retain some of that. So I wouldn't say that people are crazy when they say that they do that. I do think that it is helpful, and I've done that. But they are expensive. Another thing that I've been told is that the compression socks, they help a lot. I personally haven't experienced that they make any difference, but I was also told that the ones that go up to your knee, like around here, they're not going to help you. You need ones that go past your knee. And then they also have some that will go around your abdomen. Women would be able to wear like the stockings. Men, they're more limited to like the knee-high socks and like a compression garment. Personally, I don't use those, but I was told that the Jobs stockings do seem to help. So I got a few other things. This is like a list of things that I've personally been using. I'm just gonna go through these, and then, like I said, I'll start creating more videos from here and trying to add more. If I can get more information, I will try and put that out. So I went over the LMNT salt additives that I put in there. Another brand that I've been using is Trace Minerals, and they make a bottle. It's called 40,000 volts, and I put about 1 drop per liter, and then I'll add actual sea salt in there. So that's a cheaper way to do this. If you, like I said, you don't want to pay for the packets. I would stay away from the ones that have a lot of sugar in them, or lots of vitamins. You don't necessarily need all of that. When people talk about electrolytes, all of the vitamins and whatnot that you're adding, that's necessary, and if you're taking a multivitamin or you're taking other supplements, you could be taking way too much, and then that could also be causing some of your symptoms or issues. Designs for Health is also a good supplement brand that I've been using. That's about where I'm at with that. I do use a few other things. I use creatine and a protein drink. I just buy them at Walmart. There are a lot of different brands that are possibly better. I've tried like the grass-fed beef ones. I've tried a few different ones, but I just find the basic one from Walmart seems to work. And then the creatine is pretty good because, again, that's helping you retain some of that water instead of just, having it flush out. Weighted blankets, I've been seeing people talking about that. I mean, you could try that if you want. I don't know that that's going to necessarily make a huge difference. Or elevating your head while you're sleeping. I've heard several people mention that. I personally haven't looked into that, but they'll get like a pillow wedge or something like that. I have been using a neck stretcher while I'm elevating my feet for 20 minutes because I have poor posture, and I don't know if that does a whole lot, but I don't know. I feel like if I'm able to do both of them at the same time, that's not really hurting me. Two things that I would highly recommend you get is a pulse oximeter and a blood pressure cuff. I try to carry a pulse oximeter in my backpack with me, along with a couple other things if I do pass out. That way I have them and I can see where my heart rate's at, and then I also have a smartwatch. This does my heart rate. They don't do your oxygen levels, which I don't really understand that. I guess Apple has some sort of lawsuit against that, but if you could find something like that, that would be awesome. And then the blood pressure cuff, that's another thing that's nice to have in your backpack if you can carry that too. But if you're feeling like you're gonna pass out, put that on and see where you're at while you're laying down. And I did find the ones that go on your wrist, they do not read accurately, so I would avoid those. I would get the ones that go around your arm. I have a fairly cheap one, and it's just got, it's got batteries in it, so it is portable, but it's a little bit more bulky. I've seen a few people mention that they have medical ID bracelets. That would be something worth looking at. I have on my watch and on my phone an ID, so if I were to pass out, it would show that to someone that doesn't have access to my phone. It'll just show up. And then another nice thing with the Apple Watch or smart watches is that if you do pass out and you were alone, it can call 911 for you. So if heaven forbid you were to get hurt and you're not able to help yourself, that's an option. Or just having that on you physically, you could call someone and let them know what's going on, because it's like with my phone. I mean, it's like now I'm recording from my phone, and if I get up to go do something, at the very least I have this on me. snap towels, they're a good item, or the little fans with the water bottle. They kind of like mist when you spray it. That's nice for in the summer to help with the heat. A lot of people carry ice packs. Another thing I mentioned before is having a backpack, but have something that you can carry a water bottle in, like this. That's very helpful to me. I've seen people say that they'll even sew like pockets into their clothing so that they have their medical stuff on them. If I'm just going out like to the gas station or something like that, I'll just bring this with me and leave it in the car. But if I'm going out and about, it's like I said, I'll have a heart rate monitor, I'll have a blood pressure cuff, and then I'll have some salt packets. You know, it's not, I don't need a ton of stuff, but you know, having a few things on hand is nice. Bone broth and pickles, I've been seeing that a lot. I eat pickles on and off, you know, with meals. That helps with the salt. Tajin, it's like a Hispanic seasoning or spice that you can put on food. I put that on like avocados and different fruit and stuff like that, so that'll help me get that in. A walker, a wheelchair, and a cane, they're nice things to have. My symptoms aren't always that bad, but I have had to use a walker or a wheelchair at times. You know, it depends on what's going on, but I would definitely have those on hand. You know, if you're going to concerts or if you're trying to go out and do things, it's nice having a place to sit down, or having a little bit of extra help. Another thing that I found was helpful is going to church and trying to have something other than, you know, worrying about this. It doesn't necessarily have to be religion, but I would recommend trying to find something to get your mind off of things. You know, you could go to the parks and, you know, just being outside or outdoors more. You know, gaming, reading books, learning a new language, doing math. There's a lot of different things that you could do, but just try and find something. And that's like I said, if you have Chat GPT or like Duolingo or you know, there's so many apps out there that I do think are beneficial, and just don't let this consume you, because there is a lot more that you can be doing. And if you are limited to being at home, I mean, you could be progressing in something instead of just letting this be it, you know. There's so much more that you can do. But yeah, I'll try and add some of the supplements that I've been using, and anything else that I can think of, really. I mean, I can try and show like the Levine protocol or the CHOP protocol that I've been using for exercise. With POTS, I'm very limited on what I can do standing up, but I can do exercises while laying down or while sitting. So I have a rowing machine that I found on Marketplace, and that has been phenomenal. A lot of people will use the recumbent bicycles, but I personally find the rowing machine to be easier to use. But you try and progress with that. You know, you go like 5 minutes one day for like, well, you'll go 5 minutes for like a week, and then you'll work up to like 10 minutes a week daily. And then once you get up to a certain point, your heart rate will be high, but then as you're walking, it will start to come down almost to a normal level. I mean, I've had it come down to like 80 BPM, which is pretty good. Usually I'm resting at like 90 BPM, which is very high. Most people are usually at like 70, and that's throughout the whole day, you know. So while you're walking, you can start to do more and more. And it's like I said, it's very difficult to keep all of this going and, you know, stay on top of it, especially if you have doctor's appointments and, you know, it's like I have a dog, so I got to take care of him, or, you know, trying to do some things normal in my life, you know. But over time, supposedly that's supposed to help, and I have noticed when I am on top of it and I'm doing what I should be doing, it does help. But it's not like a quick cure, and I think that's what a lot of people want. They get sick or whatever, and they take cough syrup or whatever, and then they're fine within a few days. And this is more of a lifestyle change, and, you know, you got to learn to live with some of this, and, you know, learning to ask people for help, and it's just it's a different way of life, really. So anyways, I'm gonna cut it there, but if this helps, or if you have any comments, please feel free to share them. And like I said too, there are a lot of forums and communities on Facebook or Reddit, or just on Google, you know. It's worth looking into, and there is a lot more out there that I don't know. And like I said too, with the holistic doctors, I do think that they are helpful, but I think you need to do your research on them, because I had one and they charged me $700 up front. They did all this testing, and then they were going to charge me thousands of dollars to give me any sort of treatment plan, being that like supplements and whatnot, and red light therapy and hyperbolic chambers, and a lot of things that they could have disclosed. And then the one that I currently have been seeing, he's out of state, but he only charged me $400. And the first phone call that I had with him, he was telling me, you know, so much more than any of the doctors or the holistic doctors. So yeah, you just gotta stay on top of it. But anyways, take care.